Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Sencut Awassi. And as soon as I saw this, I asked myself, are they trying to make up for the Sencut Watuga that they discontinued? This was the first Sencut that I bought at Blade Show when it first came out that, I was like, ooh, I like this brand. We have a larger EDC knife here coming in at 8.18 inches overall. It has a 3.46 inch blade of 9CR 18 MOV stainless steel. I'm calling it a sheep's foot, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter to me at all. Your blade has a belt satin finish. It is going to be a fingerprint magnet. And this comes in this neutral blue, as they're calling it, G10 with a satin blade. You can get it with black G10 and a satin blade, or a black blade with the Gaborsha wood scales. You have some functional jimping right here that grips the finger nicely in the saber grip. It's not a long road jimping, however, it does its job in my opinion. Your thumb studs stay out of the cutting path. You got a nice top swedge for some flare right there. I think it looks nice. And as you can see, you have a needle-like tip there. Great for those utilitarian cuts. Very fine precision cuts. In-hand cuts are going to be fantastic because of that straight edge. You can have full power from heel to tip. So if you break down a lot of cardboard boxes or you do some intricate cutting, this is going to be a great knife for that. And I've said it many times before, but when it comes to the 9CR 18 MOV, Sencut does the absolute best that I've tested. Your blade stock thickness is coming in at 0.12, and this one has a fairly high hollow grind that comes down nice and thin to around 12 thousandths behind the edge. And besides making it an absolute slicing monster here, another cool thing about having that deep hollow grind like that is you're going to be able to sharpen it for quite some time before it starts to thicken up. Let me show you this. We're going to go about 1/8 inch up the blade. Close to that. Let's see. 1/8 inch is about 17 thousandths. Look how far I am. Now go to about 1/4 inch, maybe somewhere in that area. See how far I am of the blade. And 19 thousandths. So, like I said, you're going to have tons of sharpening before you have to worry about it being thick. And with a design like this, I think that was a smart decision. I'm not sure about y'all, but I'm ready to see how this one cuts. Let's find out. Well, there's absolutely no surprise here. This thing is just stupid sharp. I mean, ridiculously sharp. It's going to excel at this type of cutting because of that straight edge. You got full power from heel to tip. And I'm going to say it right now, by the way this is slicing, this is probably the best performing Sencut knife that I've tested to date, that I can recall at least. It's slicing better than the Art Blast. That was a great slicer. The Cybrix or whatever that one is, that one's a great slicer. But man, I wish you could feel this. I'm sure everybody who owns one knows what I'm talking about. And now we're testing those ergos. You got pretty neutral scales, flat scales, good chamfers, no real hot spots, and I mean peeling this thing like never before. I had to use very light pressure if I wanted to do any kind of peeling like that, or fine feather sticks, because you can get so much power behind that blade. And this is where, yeah, man, I tested a few knives before this and they did pretty good, but this, just look at that. Look how it's popping the 1/2 inch sisal rope. It is making sharp work of this absolute. I'm putting hardly any pressure into it. And it's kind of mind-boggling because this steel is a very low-end budget steel. But heat treated properly, as you can see, it does very, very well. I mean, what is this knife? 39 bucks? Are you serious? Whenever I got into the hobby, a $39 knife had 8CR 13 MOV, and that was like the cheapest 8CR you could get. And this one would run circles around 8CR. So yeah, it's a testament when you have a proper heat treat and a proper sharp edge with great geometry, how far a steel can actually go. Now this isn't gonna outcut any of the super steels or anything like that. And yeah, after all this, I'm sure that front portion is gonna not have the sharpest edge to it, but it drops back very easy as long as you don't have any edge damage and it's not your edging completely gone. You can drop it back or hit it on a ceramic hone for like 2 minutes and get it hair popping sharp again. It's also going to really excel those fine detailed cuts. I had to do an extra one, and this is where it's going to struggle. You can see I pulled it up on the block because you're only making contact if you're cutting on a flat cutting surface without doing this with like maybe a 1/4 inch of the blade before you come in contact with the flipper tab. But you know, every knife has a drawback, and this one's going to be cutting on a flat surface. Not a big deal. Wow is all I can say. Out of all the Sencut knives that I've tested some that sliced very, very well, like the Arc Blast. Great slicer. The Hyrax, or I think that's what it's called, outstanding slicer. However, the Sencut Awassi, in my opinion, is now the new performance king in the Sencut lineup. This thing sliced like nobody's business. Now let's talk about the deployment in action, something that they always nail in my opinion. You have a flipper tab and you have thumb studs. The flipper tab has jimping on it right there for some texture. You're definitely not going to slide off of that, and that flipper is right in front of that pivot, so you can have tons of momentum. This one comes flying out. It is riding on cage ceramic bearings with the ceramic detent ball, giving it a nice and smooth and snappy action. You can reverse flick it if you like. You can slow roll it if you like. And I will say these break in rapidly the more you open and close it and the more you're using it. You can easily actuate it left-handed as well. That thumb stud is just as open on the left and right side. And of course, you can flip it lefty as well rather easily. So fantastic job dialing in that detent for a perfect deployment no matter which one you choose. So your scales are peel ply and they offer just the perfect amount of traction. You got some little milling lines here for just, I think, some flair, maybe a little bit extra grip. And then look how crisp those T8 torques are. You have a larger lanyard hole for the lanyard people there. Flow through construction, 2 hourglass standoffs in the back, giving it a lot of side-to-side rigidity. You have a deep carry pocket clip. I wish I would have inset it into the G10. However, it is rounded over there in the front, and they have countersunk those screws. So I haven't ever had an issue with it. And as you can see, all you're going to have is this little nub sticking above the pocket. Perfect amount of ramp, goes in and out of the pocket nicely. I did not feel that clip during use at all. And the clip is tapped for lefties as well. T8 construction throughout, except for the pocket clip, which is T6. You do not have to remove that clip in order to take this knife apart. Your stainless steel liners have been pocketed out as much as they possibly could on the top and bottom to bring down the weight and I'm sure to balance the knife out. Your balance point is a little back, but I'd call that good. It feels very nimble in hand. Your G10 scales are shadow boxed to the stainless steel liners, just meaning that the stainless steel liners are sitting a little proud of the G10. However, they do a great job of knocking off any sharp edges. So whenever I was testing this one, I don't ever feel that in hand. I know some people claim they do. I mean, if my hands don't feel it, I don't know how anybody else's would. My medium-sized hands, that pocket clip stays out of the way of my hand right here. Now, if you have a large or extra large hands and it sits on top of that, I don't know how that'll feel. Let's see. If I choke back right there, it kind of wraps around it. I don't really find it to be uncomfortable or anything. The lockup on this one, I'd say, is around maybe 50% or so. Access to the lock bar. This comes down a little bit lower and they have that texture. I find it to be easy. I can use my thumb if I want, but I usually use this portion because I don't love the texture there. It's not terrible or anything, but I just find it to be a lot more comfortable. And then when you release that blade, it's on the detent right there. So you got enough to be able to drop that flipper tab onto your finger and then drop it the rest of the way so you don't have any double clutch situation going on. Real quick touch on the ergos. I'm sure I talked about it during the testing, but I thought it was about as comfortable as flat scales can be. Now, whenever I'm really bearing down, I can kind of feel these scales flex just ever so slightly, but nothing concerning, nothing to where I felt like it was going to disengage the lock or anything. This pull grip is okay. That flipper tab will be kind of poking you right here. It's not the worst, but if you do that type of cutting a whole lot, then you might want to think about that. And then the reverse gas station knife fight grip. I'm not sure why you do this, but I guess you could stick it into something there because that tip is exposed. So if you want to do that, it is rather comfortable because of this flat spot. But for me, you know, the saber grip, hammer grip is where I stay, and both of those are fantastic. Now for some quick size comparisons, it's a little bigger than the Sencut Watuga and the Sencut Traxler. And it's a little shorter than the Sencut Draxer, and it's a little longer than the Sencut Reginator. And it's just about identical in length to the Sencut Warzone and the Sencut Serene. And lastly, it's a little shorter than the Ontario Rat 1, and it's a good bit bigger than the Rat 2. Now we all know no knife's perfect. What are my nitpicks and complaints? First, of course, I would have liked to see the clip inset into the G10 and possibly T8 hardware so we could have all the same size hardware, and it's always nice to have it inset. Not the biggest deal. And also, I would have liked them to either bring that plunge grind all the way back here or do a straight plunge going up this way, because you might get, this is where it starts to thicken up right here, so you'll get a few sharpenings before it may start to create a smile right here. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. At least you're going to get some sharpenings, but it would have been nice to get, you know, all this as sharpening life. All that said, this is a $39 knife for the G10 variants. It's like $42 for the Gaborsha wood, I think. You're getting one of the best slicers in Sencut's line, in my opinion. It's a larger knife that's not super heavy. This one comes in at 3.87 ounces. I think that's more than doable. A pretty balanced knife in hand. Of course, it has Sencut's fantastic action. I was just going through all my Sencuts, and every single one of them, the detent is dialed to perfection. Now, will this replace the Watuga? No. Watuga, I loved it for that little scoop right there, and I loved it because of the micarta. I hope we continue to see some micarta options. I know from time to time they still do some. I get it. I know this is their budget line, but that would definitely be nice, especially when you have, you know, knives like this with the multi-layered G10. You know, I would think that they're close to the same price, but I could be wrong. But it's got to be about the same price as aluminum. I would think the aluminum is more expensive. I don't know. Overall, I like the appearance. Of course, I love the performance. I love the action. The ergos for my hands are nice. And it's always nice to have a bigger knife like this that doesn't weigh you down. So, if nothing I talked about was a deal breaker for you, I can highly, highly recommend this one. I definitely don't think you'll be disappointed in the least. That's going to do it for today's video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having an absolute amazing day. Remember, keep those blades sharp, smile more.